We're freshly late.
Hello and welcome to a gaming conversation with friends, episode 5. We have returned this week. Back once again. I had to say that for RemovableSanity.
Yeah, back once again for Luke Steelmaster.
Yeah. ABK Master's back. We did say we're having back on, but we're going to talk about that later in the podcast. Probably the last thing. Otherwise, RemovableSanity won't say anything for the first big chunk, and it will.
I think. Let's face it. Every podcast in the world is talking about that subject. So how about we do something different?
Yeah, we'll talk about it then. But most people haven't got a professional in the business on the show.
This is true. Yes, it's true. We do. It's the amount of money we've had to shill out to Luke to come on about this. Honestly, you don't get this everywhere else. Honestly, we get professionals on who know talk about the business. You know. So.
You can see. I mean, I felt for Luke this week. The amount of stuff he's had to say isn't correct. Apparently, the King can overrule it. You know, we had the other night on the podcast. Someone said the King can overrule the ABK deal. The CMA, he can tell them what to do.
We're talking about it. What did we say we weren't going to do?
But we're going to talk about games on that first. Thanks for joining us, Luke. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, very well. It's good to be back, and there is other stuff other than ABK. There's been a lot of games released. Another game releasing tomorrow, in fact, which we could probably talk about as well. Let's chat.
That's definitely. Thanks for coming on.
RemovableSanity.
Hello. Thanks for coming on.
Much appreciated to be on again. Yeah, it's always lovely to have a chat, and it's great to have Luke on. I know he's probably getting a bit, it probably feels like he's just going through the same conversations again and again and again. So we'll try and give him some topics that, can get his brain away from certain other aspects, maybe his professional life, because, hey, that's what gaming is all about, isn't it? Enjoying yourself outside of a professional world. Exactly. I'm assuming that is the correct, isn't it, Luke? That's how well you game. You game to try and enjoy yourself. I mean, I could be wrong.
When you say they first came about, he was excited. But towards the end, he's like, oh, no. There you go. I've had enough.
Here is. But, it's good to be on. It's obviously we have some great friends here. Obviously got some great people to enjoy. And, of course, we've got the ever hidden but always present VJ.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Still alive.
Good to hear. Shout out to Darren in chat and Masuko. Thanks for popping in. I can see you in there. But yeah, so tomorrow we have the release. Oh wow, depending people. I've already seen people trying to play Redfall. I've seen Wandering Dutch has successfully got onto New Zealand's servers, but he popped an achievement and got booted off. But it's releasing officially 1 a.m. here tomorrow. I wonder if Luke Steele's going to stay up and play it till 1 in the morning. No, he's not.
No, absolutely not.
You looking forward to it?
You can say no.
Yeah, kind of. I think kind of is the answer, but not really, I guess. I think, I don't know, I was a bit lukewarm on it even when it was first announced because it's an Arcane game, and I love Arcane games, but it didn't look really like a typical Arcane game, right? It didn't look properly immersive sim or anything like that. They were kind of going for this hybrid, where they've got, an open world and kind of more Ubisoft-y formula, which isn't inherently bad. It just depends on how you do it. And then, it's, the more footage that's come out, I don't mean the last few months, but kind of before that, I thought it looked pretty good. I'm still a bit skeptical. The previews came out and they were mostly positive, I would say, which was good. But I mean, then the 30 FPS thing hit, and it doesn't really make a difference to me because I'm not going to play it on console anyway, so I'm not really too bothered about that. Having said that, I mean, we no idea what the PC port is going to be like. But then, you know, I mean, today there's been a few leaked reviews of it, and
really,
they have not been good at all.
Apparently.
Well, no, I was just looking at the leaked reviews in general. That's bad ethos. Go on.
Sorry, the way you say leaked reviews, I know it's not good, but for what I understand, somebody was asking why would they break NDAs, and Mr. Badpit put on about it. He put the way they've worded the NDA and the when you can talk about it and release your reviews is apparently very confusing. People are a bit confused.
Well, then you clarify it with them.
Yeah.
You don't go ahead. I mean, it's just, I know this is a term that most people probably use, but it's common sense, even though it's not common. You know, you don't, it's like, oh yeah, you can buy this car, but you can't drive it till Tuesday. But the wording's wrong. So let's try and drive it Monday.
I think it might be different times, different countries. I think that might be the problem.
Yeah,
normally it's a global time.
But you can still clarify that, can't you?
I think if you've been in the business, I think in this case, I have to agree with Removable. Ignorance isn't an excuse.
I think one of the issues as well, though, is that, and this isn't a justification for breaking the embargo, but the embargo is effectively the date of release. I don't think that's a particularly good look anyway. And I'm not saying people have deliberately. I'm not saying people have deliberately broken embargo to get ahead of the of it. But I don't really have sympathy for the company or the publisher when the embargo itself is on the date of release, because it's not all the time, but sometimes it suggests that the game's coming in super, super hot, and they don't want the message to be out there in advance that the game is potentially not very good. So that's the term gets banded around a lot, but it's a fairly anti-consumer move because it's trying to obfuscate.
PlayStation did it with. What was that game? It was a zombie game. You ride motorbikes and stuff. It's a first party
Days
game.
Gone.
Days Gone was embargo. Was the release day.
I think it was, or like a day before or something like that. Yeah.
Dead Island 2, exactly the same situation there.
Yeah, and to be fair to Dead Island 2, and to an extent Days Gone, they came out with mostly positive reviews. There were some stinkers in there as well, but like Dead Island 2 in particular came out and it's apparently quite good and very polished, which is great. This one doesn't bode so well because, for example, one of the leaked reviews released was from ACG, the YouTube reviewer, who's
really that's unlike him to kind of.
Yeah, it was taken back. It was taken back really quickly, so people only got a glimpse of the review. But in his tag, he called it one of the worst games of 2023. So,
Really?
He did pull it very, very quickly. Clearly a mix up. So his is everybody knows what he thinks now.
Is that a title clickbait thing? Because sometimes it does happen.
There's also an audio clip of him saying that it's shit. So basically, from the review, so it's not just like, is it the worst game? Clickbait. He's saying that it is, which is probably a bit hyperbolic in of itself, but still. So it doesn't look great. I'll try it for myself because I think you should always do that. It's not. I think my anticipation's been kind of steadily deflated like this, the more footage that they've shown, and then obviously coinciding with some pretty negative reviews. But we'll see when the embargo actually lifts what kind of general consensus there is. I agree. It's literally one of those things where
I'm looking forward to it. I kind of was looking forward to it. I was a slight on the hype, but generally, I'm going to see how it goes when I play it.
Yeah, I mean, we've all got Game Pass. It's not going to hurt. If it ain't no good, you don't want you play it again. I think with friends it would be fun. I do. It does look good. I've not seen any leak reviews yet. I was expecting them to not come in very good, but we'll have to see. We will what it's like when we can play it. I do think it'd be one of them games where they might, because obviously there's no roadmap for this 60 FPS, but it might be a game that might get better over time because there's a lot of Xbox IP that's got better over the time. Not trying to compare it to Sea of Thieves, but Sea of Thieves is a great example. It is. It's got better over time, but this might not be the same case. This is Bethesda. It does look fun. I'll definitely give it a go. I will.
We forced you into it. If you don't, we'll be very unhappy with you.
Yeah, I'm trying it out with you guys. I've got a podcast tomorrow night, so
Oh, that excuse, eh? Oh, sorry, I can't play. I've got a podcast.
9 p.m. BMG is on the show.
Like that wasn't planned. Sorry.
Didn't realise.
See how quickly he's changed his tune, VJ? We invite him on, try and get him to play stuff. There's, sorry, I've just got a podcast.
I have Redfall installed on the PC and on the Xbox, so I have it installed on both. I do.
Yeah.
So I can try it, and I will be trying it because might as well. Yeah. It's part of the subscription, which I'm currently getting for free. I'm not another 10,000 points to go, and get another 3 months. I love the fact that I can get nearly 300 points every day just by playing one game of Gears of War. It's incredible how many points to give.
You love that game, isn't it? Yeah.
All the PC master race can get that many points just for that. There's no console equivalent to 300 points. That's great.
That is TJ. Is this correct?
I don't know. I mean, in the US,
it's nearly 300 points. It is. I've shown proof on Twitter to loads of people. Like, it's 285 points. It says 100, but when you actually click the points and click on, you have to do it through the Xbox app with your mobile data, not your home internet data, and it comes on. But once you click to accept it, it's around the 285 mark in total, along with playing a PC game. It comes out because it does the subscribe to Game Pass. It adds bits in as well.
Mm-hmm.
It totals up to about 285. I've been doing it for 52 days now. Every day. It's stacked my points up. Plus the 2,000 point things came back, people, in your Microsoft rewards on Xbox.
Yeah, that was good. We needed that. Well, at least you're not in the same boat as I am. I'm trying to get my account back.
Oh, what have you done?
Well, for those that don't know, we have an internet provider over in the UK called BT. Now, BT, yes, BT was, if you basically renewed or went with them, they gave you a year's worth of Game Pass for free, which was actually really a good deal at the time. And for me, it actually reduced my internet outgoings by about 30 quid per month. So it was not only when I get a free year's worth of Game Pass, which is itself exclusive and good, but it also gave me a reduction in my costs. What transpired out of that, though, was unfortunately, once you subscribed to BT's 3 years, there's a glitch in the BT system, which means it doesn't give you your account back. This in turn then means you cannot then subscribe to anyone other than BT. So technically, they've snicked your account.
I mean, I'm no, obviously the lawyer's gone to grab a drink in a minute, but I'm no lawyer, but I would say that's highly illegal, but I might be wrong.
I think it's not malice intent. There is a software issue, but it's up to BT to fix. Now, this went through. It came out 2022. This issue.
I remember seeing a lot of people moan about it on Twitter.
Yeah, and it came through.
Like where it was trending.
It trended for a short period, and then it kind of went away pretty quickly. And in fairness, I mean, I'm going to keep abreast of the situation because I'm in the boat. BT's own forum management team have said they found a solution. Now, originally it was you subscribe to Game Pass on the PC, and it would automatically put your account back to Microsoft in terms of subscription, and you'd then be able to utilize it. That didn't work for me. So what I think they're doing is that they're going to tell Microsoft to please cancel this subscription and take it back to them. However, if that works or not, we'll find out. But technically, I'm in abeyance at the moment.
Didn't Microsoft say no? It's BT's fault. And BT fault.
But it was that for about a month. The problem being is, Microsoft go, we are not allowed to remove a subscription from an account, because basically that, from what I understand, is that's part of the agreement the customer and the subscription service provider have agreed to. And it could be that they're just trying to get out of it and trying to get free money, or try and back away from spending money, or paying for that subscription. So they won't do it. They have to. It's the third parties who has to basically remove the subscription. This causes a problem if the third party subscription service has a fault and doesn't automatically put it back, which is what is the case we've got here.
It's difficult because I suppose what they were scared of is if they gave you the code, you'd ring up, you get your deal, you get your code, you subscribe, you put it on your account, and you'd fucking cancel. That's what they were scared of. Yes.
And that's the thing. So at this stage, it is now that my account is still under BT's subscription service, which is cancelled because it's the year's free. I've done that. I've cancelled it. I got rid of the auto renew, but BT still holds the account, and until they tell Microsoft to go back to Microsoft's billing, it potentially is under their umbrella. So we're hoping that is the situation. BT will have a chat with Microsoft. They will say, look, give it back to him. Because if it doesn't, I have no account.
Say, BT sort it, or I'm going to get CMA to come after you.
I don't think that kind of works.
It was a joke. Really, that was a joke.
I know, but I don't know what the legal ramifications are for a third-party subscription service taking control of your account and unable to give it back.
I'd imagine that when this offer was on, did you have to sign some kind of legal waiver to do it?
Oh, it's terms and conditions, your usual terms and conditions. But this was a free subscription service, and even once it finishes, it should release ownership of that account, and it hasn't done. And they've even admitted there's a fault at it. So I'll find out. Hopefully this guy will. He said he's going to send me the information. I've sent the information to him. He's going to speak to Microsoft. Microsoft will then hopefully listen to BT and say yes, it's going back to removal. If not, I have 10 years worth of account lost.
It's ridiculous. This should be something that should be. BT's a multinational company. They should have some engineers fixing this. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Well, the people who I'm dealing with, they've got a small team dealing with it, and they have stated it's only a small number of users. But from what I'm seeing, what I'm seeing in forums, it's not a small number of users. It looks like it's every person who's signed up to this subscription service, this free subscription service. That was.
Roll back in time and pre-warn you. Don't do it.
Yeah, well,
hopefully it sorts out, because it's not good. Because to lose that, you've had it for 10 years worth of. So
probably more than that. Probably more than that. Yeah,
it's everything.
It's progress, the ownership of the games themselves. Because if you just even transfer your name, you still lose the progress. Maybe lose some of the old games as well that you've got. It's a weird one to kind of realise that how anxious you get over the ownership of your games, and probably leads into a next big question is, do you own your games digitally?
No. You don't.
See, this
You
is a
own a
thing
license,
because I think a lot of people are gonna. This is gonna come. I think in the next couple of years, possibly the next 5 years. I think the question is, I've got my game. I've got my games. I want to pass them. I want to pass them
I agree
onto my
with
inheritance.
what you're saying, but it's like the old thing with people's music libraries, like on iTunes and stuff, things like that. But it's just going to be a license, and then say it's just to the said person. That's it.
The trouble is, and Luke, you'll know this. Did that actually mention that it is licensed for digital games? Is digital games classified as licensed? Is that actually being placed in a terms and condition when you buy digitally from Microsoft?
I'm not sure.
I thought it was every game now because it's just one license. That's what I thought it was now. I thought it was all licensed. You don't own your games. The only way you own a game is on a physical disc. And even then, this is very extreme, but say you had a PlayStation game and said dev didn't want anyone to play it, a patch could be put out on the PlayStation and making the disc non-void.
Well, that's only if it's access to the internet. If you've got a system.
Oh yeah, yeah. But no, I do believe that most games now you just own a license. You don't actually own the game at all.
Does that license continue? Can that license be passed over to your inherited to your?
Now that is a conversation to have with. I don't know who to have that actually with, because you bring up very good points. You do. I don't know how to answer that kind of question because it is believed that you just own a license and that's it. So you are right though. There's been a lot of conversation over the years, but nothing substantial has ever come from it.
No, and I think it's kind of always been a conversation that people are worried about, but never going to have until it affects them. I mean,
you need someone big in the industry, some big people to push it, or you need big people in power.
Luke, would you want to pass your entire catalogue on to your siblings or family members?
No.
That's not the narrative he wants to push.
Screw them kids.
Can die with me. Yeah, no. I mean, it's not something I actually think about, to be honest.
No. But do you think I think what got me thinking about it, and I don't know about if it was online, and it was a father had passed away from cancer, and his son was distraught and didn't. And they used to play the original. I think it was Sega Rally. On the Mega Drive or I can't think of what else, or one of the machines that actually I think it was Sega Saturn, and the Sega Rally itself keeps a record of a historical record of your last race. And ironically, when he opened it up and played it, I think it was about 10 to 15 years later after his father had passed away, he found the ghost of his father's actual
story.
his ghost of his father's actual runs, and it kept his enthusiasm or his love for his his family members and the game alive, because it had that historical relevance there. It was his dad's. He then went and played it. He saw his dad's times, and he would get to the point where he could beat his dad's times and then stop right near the end and let his dad basically always win. Because the idea of the ghost was, once you had beaten the ghost, you then became the ghost that you had to try and beat. So he would never beat his own father's time, just to keep that memory alive in his head. And I suppose future generations aren't going to be able to do that. No. If that is the case, I think that's I think it's a bit sad. I think society wise, I think it would be nice to pass something on to your kids. It's like, hey, I've got I don't know. I've got a few games, son. Here it is. I never managed to complete it. Why don't you complete it further down the line?
It would be nice. It would. If I could ever get my kids to play more than Minecraft and Roblox, I'd be on to a winner there. I would.
You don't know. When you're gone and buried, and your kids are older, they may go through your if they could go through all your games, go, God, he's only ever played Gears of War 5 to the tutorial. Let's see, play the entirety of the game.
But no, I do see your point. It's a very good point. Just it's one that you need some big companies or governments or somebody to push it, because tech gaming companies, Xbox and that, they told to tell you they won't do things like that without being pushed by regulation to do it. They won't. They just not come up. I don't believe they will. But VJ, sorry, are you looking to for Redfall?
Sorry?
Are you looking forward to Redfall? That was the initial question. Then we got on to some other subjects.
I think Removable knows. I think Masuko and he and I and maybe a few guests, I think you're a guest occasionally, we really enjoyed Back for Blood. So I don't have an issue with it being 30 frames per second or 60. Hopefully they'll fix it. And I just thought it might just be fun for a little bit of co-op. I think was it Wulong we played Removable? That was brilliant.
Oh yeah, that was great.
So basically, I play some single player games. Probably like everybody's probably got a similar habit. But I also enjoy some co-op titles. And obviously, this was going to be in Game Pass, so no one was under pressure to purchase it, because I know sometimes purchasing power can be limited for many households. Yep. So it was just going to be a bit of fun, really. So I'm hoping that we can still attempt to try it and determine for ourselves whether the game is good or bad, or if it's just some really good fun. Because I've played games in the past that weren't very popular, and
you still are.
I had a great time. Yeah, even now I'm playing some games which may probably not mainstream, but I was introduced to. So yeah, and whenever you're ready. Is it tomorrow? Is it or today or tomorrow?
1 a.m. UK time for us, which would probably be 3 p.m. your time.
Oh, okay.
What time zone are you in? I'll have a look up. I'll look it up for you. If you're
Pacific Standard Time.
Pacific Standard Time.
So I was hoping. I think we were going to play, right? Removable, me, you, Masuko, and Stubbs.
That's right.
But Stubbs seems to be doing his usual act of
podcasting or some excuse, or he's got a shade. He's got a headache. He's got to do his hair or something.
If he does do a disappearing act, I'm
PDT.
Want to sawing him in half or something.
It's your time zone PDT.
Pacific Daytime. Yeah, PST basically, Pacific Standard Time.
PST.
Yeah.
I'm looking for that.
It might be PDT, but I use PST.
I can only find one called PDT, and it actually says that it's available today at 5 o'clock.
Probably.
It does.
Yeah.
1700 PDT.
Are you telling everybody that you're going to stay up and play it with us all tonight?
Well, it's at 1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. No, I'm not going to stay up for that. No.
But I did speak to somebody at Bethesda, right, when there were people were leaving from Bethesda, and it wasn't a fraudulent slip, but I remember when it was announced, and I was on Boom Show, and I said, Dreadfall looks interesting, and I didn't really get any feedback. Probably just thought, no, I must have misheard the bloke. And then I've said it a couple of times in your show, but look, at the end of the day, I think Remove will always tell you, even during his reviews, you've got to try it for yourself and then determine whether you like it or not. Looking at a game, even looking at previews, there is no substitute for a first-hand experience. And it was a bit like Zelda. I was thinking to myself, should I go and buy the new Zelda? Should I pre-order it? And I thought, I'm not really sure. It's been 6 years since I finished the other one, and I haven't even played it since then. So I picked up my Switch, charged it, which took about 3 hours, and then I had Zelda Breath of the Wild already plugged in, and I did everything in the game, and I picked it up and I played it, and I thought, my goodness, this is just a control mechanism, and being able to control.
It's on screen now.
Being able to control Link and so on and so forth. And I thought, I played it for 30 seconds. I put it down, and I just said to the missus, I said, can we just pop down to GameStop, because I think we're going to pre-order this and then pick it up on the midnight release if they're having one. So
look at that full fat 720p.
Just do a couple of shout outs quickly. Welcome to Fimber. Thanks for popping in, and Port AFC. There we go. Carry on. But it's on screen now.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to talk about it, but that was my take on
definitely.
That was my take on Redfall. But I'm hoping it's fun. That's the most important thing. So I'm definitely going to give it a go. It's in Game Pass, so there's no real excuse, and I've got time on my hands at the moment. So, and I think for me personally, I was talking to Removable about this. I said, I'm seeing people saying, oh, let's just jump into Breath of the Wild before we play, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. And I said, you know what? I've learnt my lesson, long time ago. I'm playing like Wulong, and then I think we're playing Mech Warrior at the moment, Mech Warrior 5. For me, it's a complete and utter. Well, it doesn't matter, in terms of the gaming experience, but it's a real palate cleanser for me in lieu of Tears of the Kingdom. So I can't see myself playing Breath of the Wild for 2 weeks or 3 weeks and trying to complete that, or play it for every day for a few hours just to get used to the control system, because I think I'd just be worn out by the time Tears of the Kingdom release. So yeah, I'm saving. I've seen a few of the previews because I wanted to watch them. There hasn't been any spoilers, so I'm really pleased about that. But generally, just to get an idea of what I'm getting myself into, and from everything that I've seen, I think it's from my perspective, I think it's a massive looks like a massive improvement on Breath of the Wild, and hopefully it is in my experience. Especially, I don't know if you remember, it was released on the Wii U as well, right? The Breath of the Wild.
Yeah,
it was. Yeah, so that was a cross-gen title almost, and so I mean, I know that perhaps the performance and the resolution might be similar, but in terms of the systems and some of the other stuff you can do now in this game from a gameplay perspective, I think it's massive, especially this part here, being able to ascend and so on and so forth, and being able to put all this sort of stuff together, and the fusibility. I think ultra handability as well. I think it's gonna. Yeah, sorry, the on-screen prompt helped me there. Remember, so yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I stick by what I said. I think regardless of the fact that whatever comes out this year, perhaps bar Starfield, which I'm kind of like holding back in terms of determining how I feel or don't feel about that game. I think that this is probably going to be game of the year or right up there in terms of nominations, even though it runs at 720 and 30 frames per second. So yeah, and I know the technology is old and everything and so on and so forth, but the thing is, if technology for me now is just a canvas, and if you'd have given Sony or Microsoft and all their multi-billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar teams the same canvas that Nintendo have to work with, I doubt that they'd be able to compete from a creative or an imaginative perspective. Sony perhaps on an imaginative perspective, but from a gameplay and mechanics, and I think it's outstanding. So I don't know if that gets taken into account or not, but yeah, that's my take on it.
It's gone quiet.
Picture stopped. What's going on here?
Have you watched any of their previews, Luke?
Yeah, I only watched one because I don't really want to see too much of the game at this point.
I might ruin it for him.
No, that's fine, because
it's the ending.
It is how
I don't know.
All of the previews are from the same build that everybody got to experience. So there's no spoiler things in there because everybody looks at the same stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one I watched was Skill Up's preview, because I tend to align with his kind of gaming views. So I watched that. I watched the trailer they released a month ago now, a couple of weeks ago. Again, I only watched that once. Yeah, because they tend to show a lot in their trailers. They don't spoil loads that happens in the game, but if you want to go in as blind as possible, you should always avoid them anyway. But yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this. I mean, did you not play Breath of the Wild then, VJ? Like, did you not?
No, I've completed it. I completed.
Yeah. Oh, you just didn't want to go back. Yeah.
It's just that I bought it at launch in England, And I'm so glad that I can charge my British sorry, if anyone's listening, if you're ever taking a Switch to America, you can use the power supply and charge it up in the US, because I was so worried I was going to blow it up or something. But yeah, it worked.
Okay.
So I completed it a long time ago, Luke, and I never went back to it other than to play Mario Odyssey. Yeah, but I did everything, the Divine Beasts and all of that.
And all that, yeah. It's I mean, it's probably one of the best games ever made, certainly in my view. And I remember actually being quite excited for it, but I was really excited for Horizon Zero Dawn, which, if everybody infamously remembers, launched around the same time. And I remember that I played Horizon Zero Dawn first, so I played it for about an hour, and I thought, yeah, this is really good. And I tend to graze a lot on games, so I'll kind of flip around from different games to different games. And I thought, oh, I've got Zelda, so I just want to see what this is like, and then I'll go back to Zero Dawn. And then it was about 70 hours later that I went back to Zero Dawn. So I went straight through Breath of the Wild because I was just completely addicted to it. I just thought it was just an incredible game. So this one, I mean, it's just taking a lot of what made Breath of the Wild really good and layering, these super cool systems over that, and introducing more content. It's a typical sequel in some respects, except I think what they're trying to do is make it really kind of sandbox focused in terms of, you have to go and do this thing, but the way that you do that is up to you, and here's a load of tools to let you do that. And that's one of the things that they let people do in the preview, which was, here's a base, you've got to get to the top of that tower, just figure out a way to get up there using things like fuse and ultra hand and all that kind of stuff, which is just incredible. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait. I've got the collector's edition ordered.
Luke, I just wanted to say, I know people are talking about sandbox, and that might not be my game. There's a couple of things, but when you play a Nintendo game, and when you do put this sort of, say this, this whatever this contraption is on screen, that once you've done the building, once you've successfully reached the goal and the purpose, that the reward at the end of it, at the end, on that mountain or in that chest or in that dungeon, is going to be something of value, right? And potentially, and moves the game along and moves it forward. So it's not just building it for the sake of it. So there's always a reward, structured in, which I think is important, right? Especially for this game, right? Because I know that there's going to be certain things that the solution is going to be right in front of me, and I'll be there for hours. So expect some DMs. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, I think one of the good things in this is it seems like really it's just your imagination that will get in the way of you actually achieving things in this, or solving a problem, because I think they're looking at design where there's multiple ways to do a thing or solve something, and it's just up to you to pick the one that you think might be best. And I think it's just super cool that they've physicalized everything in this, so everything reacts in the way that you'd expect it to react in real life. I think Skill Up, for example, in his preview, gave the example, and he showed it of, he made a very rudimentary four-wheeled vehicle, just with a plane of wood on the bottom. And then he thought it'd be really cool to make it an attack vehicle, and you can get these sort of dragon heads that will breathe fire, these mechanized dragon heads. So he put the two on the front, and then he went forward, but fire reacts in the same way as it would in real life to wind force. So the fire just ended up blowing back onto the wooden vehicle and setting it all aflame almost instantly and killing him. So I think stuff like that's really cool, because it is just like, it's just like this puzzle, this kind of natural puzzle that you've got to figure out. You've got to just apply common sense to a lot of this stuff, and it will react in the way you think it should react. So yeah, so I can't wait. I really, really can't wait. Like I said, I've got the collector's edition pre-ordered, which was an ordeal in itself. Unfortunately, the only annoying thing is it comes out a day where I've got like a 12-hour flight. So I'm gonna I think I'm gonna have to double dip just and try and get it downloaded before that flight, because that will make that flight
so much easier
a lot easier. Yeah.
It would.
So,
How much battery life? Sorry, Luke. How much battery? I don't know what Switch you've got, but you're on a 12-hour flight. Can you charge it on the flight, or is there a?
Yeah, there'll be plug sockets, but I mean, for something like Zelda, I've got the.
You're going to need at least 13.
Yeah.
12-hour flight. You going to America or somewhere?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to Las Vegas.
Nice.
So it's quite a long one. So I know Breath of the Wild. I mean, if it's similar wattage, the Switch OLED's the same battery as the old ones. So I think you might get maybe a bit more performance out of it in terms of battery life. But it's typically, for something like this, it'd be about 2 and a bit hours that you will get before it's dead. So I'll flick between this and a Steam Deck and see where I get to.
I'm a little bit worried, Luke, that you're going to be about a 3 hours drive from me, so I'm just going to get my moat built quickly as possible.
I was going to say, well, I'm not traveling up to you, so you can come to the Strip if you want to.
Oh, no, you're arriving. I might have to talk to customs and excise and say, look, if this guy tries to come get into Los Angeles, get into America.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Steam Deck, does that mean that you potentially may be looking at its potential rival, the ACOG?
The ROG,
the ROG Ally?
I think potentially, yeah.
I mean, it's going to appear in a minute in chat.
Yeah, it'll be. Look, I mean, I love tech, so and I think that's certainly. I mean, it's super capable, significantly more powerful than the Steam Deck. But it will all depend on battery life, because you can have, higher res screen, higher refresh rate, more power envelope, but there's only so much you can do with the laws of, thermodynamics.
I think it was Iron Lords. They went to the show, the actual opening show of it, and one of their videos, if you watch it, it was at least one of the people there said that he'd been playing Forza I think it's Forza Horizon at 1080p on performance mode, and he got about 2.5 hours. So take out of that what you will.
It's about the same probably as a Steam Deck then, maybe.
Yeah, and ETA Prime recently did a video where he explored battery life and performance with a similar chipset, not identical, and in terms of slightly less RAM. And again, he was getting similar battery life. But I suppose what he was saying was that he was quite impressed with using this similar chipset. He was quite impressed how if you wanted to knock it down to 30 to 40 frames per second at 15 watts, a lot of games would be more than capable. And it's only when you went up to around the 30 wattage, that you would need to go to around your 60 frames per second. But there was some games that he was, again, it's just a similar chipset, so not exactly identical. But I think one of the games he worked out was Cyberpunk, and he was getting, I think it was almost 60 at 15 watts frames per second, which he said was really, really good. Again, please watch ETA's latest Prime's latest video. He'll give you a much more better and in-depth diagnosis than the kind of shortcoming I'm giving you. For me, I think again it's one of those things. If you want absolute battery draining performance, surely you'd plug it in. Because the same thing with the Steam Deck. If you want it at the highest rating, highest setting, it's going to kill the Steam Deck. The same thing, isn't it? But at least with the ROG Ally, you have the options. That's the thing that's always got me. Say you want it at 1080p, fine. 1080p might give you two and a half hours. Say you want 3.5 hours or 4 hours, drop it down to 900, drop it down to 800 potentially. There's
you
options.
Do that on Steam Deck though.
Yeah.
But just the base resolution is lower.
Exactly. So, but with the ROG you could go higher if you wanted to. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's more options for me, at least. It gives you more options to play with. So if I wanted the absolute killer performance, plug it in. If you don't want it, absolute killer performance, so you're in a car or something, or in a train journey, maybe knock it down to 30 watts. Make it 15 watts. Maybe drop it down to 900p. It's still options that the Steam Deck doesn't have. That's not saying that's, Valve may not make it a competitor. What I'm hoping for the ROG Ally is that it pushes Valve to make a Steam Deck 2.
Yeah, although Steam Deck has a ton of options for settings and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, as you say, that the ROG can go higher. You can go to 1080p and you can go 120 hertz. That will absolutely obliterate your battery, however, particularly the 120 hertz, unless you plug it in which case you could just keep going, or albeit I don't know how fruitful that is for long-term battery life.
Well, yeah, I think the thing, again, ETA Prime, he did it at 120 hertz. He was getting it with Cyberpunk. That was at 30 watts. So that was...
Yeah,
take that as you is. Yeah, that's
pretty much the maximum that device is capable of in terms of wattage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Steam Deck, you can apply system-wide VSync, you can apply system-wide frame caps, you can do lots of different things to get your wattage down and extend your battery life, and then obviously monitor it all with the ISD. So you can do all of that. The ROG, I think it's cool that you've got. I think the thing that's cool about the ROG is that, first of all, it's a Windows native device, which is great because it means more compatibility just across things like, the Xbox app and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit easier than how it is on the Steam Deck. That's really cool. But we don't know how... I think that the thing that gives me hesitation on the ROG side is I don't think software support is going to be anywhere near as good as it is for the Steam Deck because Valve are very good at that. Asus may not have the inclination longer term to really support that device. This
is where I think Microsoft is going to help in this aspect, because they seemed, at least from the Iron Lord's videos, having one of Microsoft's team there saying they are there to support it. I suspect maybe behind the scenes they'll probably end up helping keep that software to its highest performance. And I suspect probably I'm just guessing here. This is all just hyperbole, my own opinion. They probably want this to market this as the Xbox handheld, because it's got native Xbox Game Pass on the system. So I suspect they're probably going to help it out as much as possible. And you're right, and where Steam has they are superior. They have their own team perfectly tuning the Steam Deck to its finest situation. I'm hoping Microsoft will help out, maybe within Asus's corner. But if they don't, and they're just there for just there for bonus points, then it is up, as you rightly said, that it's clearly up to Asus to try and get a decent software team to ensure that it's optimized and updated on a regular basis. So for me, it's the price. I think it's the price is going to be their kicker. And they're saying their Extreme X1 edition is at $699. $699, I think was the last thing I heard. That is still very good price. It's about $50 more than the highest tier Steam Deck.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, if they can get it, I mean, even I might be interested. And that's saying something, So
yeah, I think it's if they get that price, it's a very good price for performance, notwithstanding the battery life element. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I may be interested in it. It depends on I think it for me it depends more on battery life, and also how Windows titles actually perform. Stuff like on the Xbox app, how's that actually going to perform on heavily custom hardware like this, what's the software support going to be like? How will that help? Because those are all unanswered questions at the moment. But yeah, in principle, I think it looks a really good piece of tech. So it'd be nice to see it kind of in the, in the world when it properly releases, and then I'll make a decision.
We'll find out May the 11th. Keep it in your books, ladies and gentlemen.
I knew you'd bring it up.
It was Luke. He mentioned Steam Deck, and my brain instantly went, "Well, hello." There's
I was thinking about bringing it up, but then I totally forgot until you mentioned it. I did. Do you think they'd ever make another Steam Deck, Luke? Because I looked up. It's not a mass. Because I had a bit of stick on Twitter. Obviously, I called it a niche product, and because I compared it to the Nintendo Switch, it is.
Yeah,
but it sold 1 million. Do you think it will ever? Well, as of October last year, it sold 1 million.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd ever make a new version of it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's done well enough. I mean, I think 1 million units for that device is actually really good, to be honest.
That was as of October. They probably sold more than that.
Yeah, they probably sold more now. Yeah, I think they will. I think it's a product they really like. It keeps people and gets people into the Steam ecosystem, even if they don't have a desktop.
Yeah.
It's a great device. There's room for improvement, for a second version. Already, as you can see by the Ally, the mobile APU technology for AMD has come on massively. So you can get even more performance per watt now. I hope they do, because I think if they could get a similar chipset, and they could get an OLED screen in there, I think you'd have a really
definitely
incredible
sale from you, definitely,
and a 1080p. Yeah. That's the one thing that kind of got me for me.
You do not need that resolution on that screen. It's great that you have it, but you don't need it.
I don't know. If you consume any media, not just games, I've always found it's much more, telling for me. I don't know, just for me, I found 80, 800 and 720 is like, maybe it's with the media rather than the games. Games probably is a little bit better. For me, I would see that as a more than just a gaming console, though. I think it would be just a multimedia situation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you've got a high density PPI screen operating at 800p compared to a 1080p, it's not even that significant a jump in resolution. So even if you blew that up, it wouldn't be that significant a difference, although you would see it on a larger screen if you were looking for it. On a tiny, 6 to 7 inch screen, tiny being relative, you're not at native resolution. And bear in mind, a lot of these games aren't going to be running native resolution, because you're going to need probably FSR to help them along. But you're not, game-wise at least, you're not going to see that much of a difference, not a perceptible difference. Media, for me, it would be the same. I'm not, if an iPhone screen went up to 4K today and I started watching videos at 4K on the same, 6.8 inch display as I have, as compared to, the kind of slightly above 1440p resolution that they currently have, I wouldn't notice much of a difference.
Yeah, see, for me, I was a difference. I was like, I'll look at my, I've got small tablets and also phones and that, but it's like, if I jump from 800p on a YouTube video to 1080, I can see a visual difference. But then again, that's a media thing. That's not a game, as you said. That's not a gaming thing. And that to me is where I kind of lean towards it being 1080p, because I'm not just looking at it as a games console. I'm looking at it as more than that. It's got that iOS to allow it to do other things. So why not fully utilize it for all its capabilities? Don't get me wrong, I can get that it's a gaming console effectively, in all shapes and terms. But I think sometimes it's like, if it's got that capability, why not fully use it? And that's the thing for me. I'd probably end up using it as a portable PC. I know, I know people are like, well, if you want a PC, just go and get a PC. It's like, no, but I don't want a laptop. I don't want a PC. I want something small, niche that can do almost everything. And that's what I was hoping the Steam Deck was going to be able to do. And it's like, oh, okay, all right. It looks like ROG may be able to do that, but as I said, there is still caveats with even that.
I mean, the deck can do everything because you just launch it into desktop mode, and then you've got a PC, and you can watch. You know, you can go onto Netflix and watch it in the browser if you want, or whatever. So, so it can do all of that, but yeah, I guess the ROG, you know, I mean, it's Windows.
Well, I think for me, it's that £50 price point, because I'm still looking at it. I'm still looking at both of them. They're still very good. It's like for £50, you do
for
seem
£50,
to.
I probably, if I didn't have a Steam Deck, I'd probably be erring more towards a ROG. But again, that's heavily dependent on a few different things.
Yeah, exactly. I think and that's going to be dependent per person, isn't it? It's going to be But for me, I also like the fact it's competition. So it's pushing that market, and as I said, I'm hoping it will push Valve and also other makers out there, because there is now a slew of these effectively PC gaming handhelds.
Steam's the winner, isn't they?
Yeah, but it's
a win-win for Steam, because ROG ain't got a storefront. It's Steam benefiting from it all.
Regardless of it is, you can still. It said you're still going to have to go through a Steam front to play your Steam games, but it's a question. You know, it's a case. I think it's going to be. You can play pretty much everything on there. There's multiple things. I think either way, Steam's going to come out still making some money. It's a case of, will it push them to make a Steam Deck 2? I'd like to see it do that. I'd like to see Steam come out. Valve come out and go, here's the Steam 2. Boom! Here's an amazing piece of new hardware.
Or VJ with his connections could give Gabe a call and say, Luke wants a Steam Deck 2, please.
Well, the thing is that it may push them to make a Steam Deck. I think they were going to make a Steam Deck 2 irrespective of what Asus were doing.
Oh, really? Because I thought it was literally they weren't going to do it. So maybe, again, that's why I was like, oh, okay.
No, they were definitely still going to, provided the first one was a success, which it has been. But I mean, it's not long since launch, so you're not going to get one yet.
Another 2 or 3 years, aren't they? Yeah.
So, I mean, it's different to their console cycle anyway, but they'll only do one when there's a meaningful uplift in pure performance, and it may be that they look at, you know, the AMD chips that are in the ROG, and they think that actually, you know, let's wait for the next generation. Next generation of those, because that will offer a, you know, better all-round battery life, for example, better performance per watt, and, you know, will be a more significant leap than we could get now, which is probably the case. So I would expect one in a couple of years, but I think they'll definitely release another, because it's been really good for them. And as I say, it's, you know, it pays for itself when you can keep people invested in your ecosystem and spending money at the storefront, and it's readily accessible. And the Steam OS is fantastic. You know, it's really good, and Steam's just amazing. And we only need one storefront, to be honest, on PC. And all hail Steam.
Oh, that's anti-consumer.
It's not as good as it is.
Then I think games fanboys will be after you. The GOG fanboys.
I like GOG. I do like GOG, but GOG's kind of a different thing. It operates in a bit of a different purview.
Epic.
Epic's fine. It's okay. I mean, it's certainly very good in terms of the offering, freebies and the offerings and you know, that kind of stuff. But otherwise, PC gamers don't really like multiple storefronts, so it's always been really difficult for Epic. But it's good that they're there and they're offering some incentive to go and buy games on their storefront, apart from obviously signing games exclusively there, which is a bit of a pain. But you know.
I can see that. That's a bit of a. I think, you know, more choice means better for the consumer. That's, you know, that's how I've always seen it. You know, and it does worry me slightly that Steam has a monopoly on the front. It does kind of like.
Well, there's
It
a
is
lot-
pretty much a monopoly, isn't it? Let's face it. It is a monopoly.
Yeah, but it would only worry me if to the point where they were doing things that were generally anti-consumer or obviously anti-consumer, which they're not doing.
They don't.
Until it gets to that point, I think everybody's happy with Steam. Yeah, I don't. I mean, like it's a lightweight, compact storefront with great deals, with full compatibility with pretty much every OS you can think of. He's really strong on the software side, great social features, and yeah, I mean, I like at the minute, there's no real issue with Steam being the kind of dominant player. Maybe that will change in the future. I don't know. In which case, it will all be glad that Epic are there. But right now, I think everybody's just pretty happy with Steam on PC, albeit Epic's, pretty cool as well. It's got better.
Because Steam is good because it's like, you are right, they're not anti-consumer because, like Gabe Newell said, like he turned Microsoft down for a COD deal. He says, we don't really need one. You just put your games in our store. He doesn't really need a 10-year deal, does he? He's not really in. If you want to put your games in your store, if you don't, he's not bothered because they know they're that big. They do. It's massive, Steam is.
Yeah, also I think people miss this out, but there's a lot of goodwill attached to Steam because before Steam, as everybody will know, the PC front was just the Wild West in terms of installers, in terms of where you would get your games from and how you would do that. It was a mess. So Steam has come along and basically simplified the entire process and made it kind of a singular storefront for everything PC games, and that has given it a huge amount of goodwill because there are many people who play on PC who still remember those days and remember how difficult it was. And unfortunately, then you have kind of these shit launchers coming in. The Xbox One is dreadful, absolutely terrible. EA's is terrible. Ubisoft is terrible. Obviously a lot of publishers now want, even if you buy something on Steam, sometimes you still have to go through the relevant publisher installer, to actually access your game, which is ludicrous. So those kind of things even kind of entrench Steam more in people's minds on PC as just a really good thing. So
exactly. Steam is good. I need to play on the PC more, as in through Steam, but it is generally good. The games I've got on Steam so far, they've always got a sale on. There's a Devolver sale on at the minute. There is.
Yeah, it's always cheaper.
I don't know, Stubbs. To be honest with you, why go to another platform just to play the tutorial? It's why give yourself that extra load of backlog you're never going to complete.
but the Xbox app is crap on the PC.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
You'd think it'd be perfect. The company that make an operating system. You'd think it'd be like run perfectly. You'd love it. No, Steam's far better.
What it needs, and I think Luke will back me up on this, is clearly a return to Windows 7.
Needs a return to the bin. That's what it needs.
But no, it's. Are you there, VJ? I think he's gone.
Yep, I'm here.
Just making sure you're still here. Do you want to comment on anything?
No, I'm just listening. I don't really play on PC or the Steam Deck, so it was just interesting just to have a listen in. So, yep, all good.
Okay. Just making sure, that's all. Shout outs to Matt Barnes. Thanks for popping in. But yeah, it's been a good conversation so far. But no, I always laugh when I bring up Steam, because I do remember back from the midweek gaming days, and VJ just suggested Microsoft. Gabe's getting a bit old now. You know, he should probably sell on Steam to Microsoft. And it was just a joke theory kind of thing. Next week, they were reporting an insider had leaked that Microsoft was buying Steam.
Nice.
It wasn't anything. It was a theory, wasn't it, VJ? And it was going around the internet, and inside it was VJ's little theory. It was just a little bit of fun.
It was a long time ago.
It was, yeah. I remember that. Inside, VJ said that. I was like,
yeah, I don't know how they would integrate because they run very different systems, but but in terms of, I think Microsoft are just trying to either buy a franchise or something that's established so that their brand becomes synonymous with it. Because at the moment, I think that they're, I don't know, I just get a real sense that it's a scattergun approach from Microsoft at the moment, and they can afford to do it because they've got the funds to do it. But in terms of a clear strategy in all facets of how they want to finally arrive in the gaming industry, I think it's there for all to see and for all to interpretate however they want. I mean, I got a different perspective because I worked with Microsoft from two different industries in the past, and the landscape keeps changing. I know games take a long time to make, but the people that are
the ethos behind it may not be.
Yeah, and the people keep changing, but the people that do fundamentally need to change, we'll go into that here, but the people that do need to change seem to remain, and as long as they remain, nothing will change. And it's a bit of a paradox.
I mean, the problem is with Microsoft is I think that they're not allowed. The problem is Microsoft's created this culture within their company, Xbox, and within their own companies of Microsoft now, where there used to be crunch time. Microsoft can't crunch. A lot of these big tech companies have created nice facilities, free food, free everything inside their facilities. It's that nice to work there.
Trust me, they're crunching.
They ain't crunching. Microsoft.
I really wouldn't believe what you read, or unless you've experienced
it's all connected to that. But these in games, are they? They ain't crunching.
Yeah, I think. Look, at the end of the day, right? Microsoft, from a consumer perspective, they offer you a really great deal. You know, you can buy their box, whether whatever power, whatever you're interested in all of that, and you get a great selection of games for a really fair, reasonable price at $15 off, whatever, $12.99, whatever it is, right? And then it's obviously cheaper in the Asian countries and the Middle East and so on and so forth, for certain Middle East countries anyway. And then from a hardcore gamer's perspective, I bet you any money that the majority of the people that complain about Xbox and the majority of the people that complain about PlayStation own both systems. I haven't come across someone who hasn't, other than Removable. That's only because he's got about 5,000 games he wants to play on his Nintendo Game Boy. But and the people that don't have both systems would like to have either a PlayStation or an Xbox, and dare I say it, a Switch. So everything else is just noise. I think for Microsoft, they've been in the industry over 25 years now, and I think they look at it holistically and say, look, there's huge potential there. We haven't got exactly where we want to get to and haven't arrived. We don't have these tentpole franchises that make money hand over fist. I think they've bought Bethesda for a myriad of reasons, but sometimes I look at it and some of the games that are coming out, and you can look at the performance and look at the timing of stuff, and then you wonder, look, games do get delayed, things do happen, right? Especially in the games industry, because there's so many, you're just building everything, not just the visuals, but the tech from scratch in some cases, or reorientating the tech you've inherited and so on and so forth. And but you do wonder who the hell was doing the due diligence, right, when some of these things were being required, because some of the stuff that's being said and then some of the stuff that's coming to light is kind of a little shocking to me. But then if you've got the money to do it and not worry about spilt milk and just want to get ahead of the game through expansive expenditure, shall we call it, then I think Microsoft are well within the right to do so. And whether you like it, love it, or hate it, they are on a course. And I think I said this before. In terms of power, resource, and influence, they're phenomenal. They can hire anyone they want. They've done that. It's just that the thing is they've got all these fantastic ingredients, but they just don't seem to have the chefs in the right places to produce that perfect souffle. And Nintendo and Sony seem to just produce quarter after quarter, year after year, decade after decade. And I think that's where Microsoft want to get to, and they can get to, and I'd like them to get there, but it's just people are really, really impatient. So.
I would say one thing they have preempted, or two things. No, I would say one thing they have preemptive strike for, and it has benefited them, probably to a detriment, is they've pushed hardest with cloud gaming and cloud services. And I'm not 100% sure, but my guess is they are the world's lead in that service alone. Am I correct, Luke? In cloud services, in cloud gaming, they own most of the. Is it correct? Am I correct? And again, I apologise if wrong. I think they own most of the cloud servers, or provide most of the cloud servers to some people. I think aren't they providing cloud service to PlayStation? If I remember correctly.
No.
Is that?
No, there was a preemptive handshake, right? That they would work closely together in terms of Sony providing sensors and Microsoft providing cloud services. Microsoft have the infrastructure pretty much to rival Google's, but obviously theirs is. I don't know if this is true, but I'd assume it is. But yeah, there was. I'd have to agree with Removable that there was some. They've definitely got the clout in that space. Shall we put it that way?
There was something, but then someone came out recently and said it never happened, the deal.
No, the deal didn't happen, but there was a handshake that they would move towards
gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, or doing something within that space together. There's nothing. I don't think it was anything binding or anything that would have a material effect on either company or any particular division. There was just can we just call it a meeting of minds for now, right, until something concrete comes out. But at the end of the day, what you don't know is what does go behind the scenes is that these companies do meet, they do cross over, and they do work together. It just perhaps we just don't really hear about it as often as we'd like to, And obviously some stuff is kept top secret.
But I think that is right, though, Luke, that Microsoft are one of the biggest cloud-based companies in the world now, aren't they? For their services, like Azure.
Yeah.
I think they are pretty much one of the biggest companies out there now.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is it. I'm assuming then, if they've got, it sounds like to me, you've got Tencent and PlayStation, which holds the hardware.
Hang on for a minute. Masuku said that Amazon's bigger in the cloud, apparently.
Oh, that's
really.
That's true. I remember there was something there was something about a military contract that Microsoft and Amazon were going head to head with at some point. I don't know who got it in the end. Probably Luke got it in Jersey. Yeah, probably outwitted both of them.
Oh, the indie gamers missed the conversation he would have enjoyed. The Steam Deck was being brought up. The Rogue Ally was being brought up. Oh, you missed it. The topic. It was good. You have to go back after the fact and have a listen. Luke was defending your Steam Deck. Don't worry.
I was defending the honor of the deck.
Hey, the last tweet I saw from Indy, he said he was going to give it away to someone because he doesn't play it that often.
He did. Scott, I don't think he actually meant it. But thanks for popping in, mate. Appreciate it. But no, we might as well, see as we got on to cloud and that. Has anything happened in the MMA world, Luke, that interests you?
Nothing.
Not a thing. Not a thing.
Got a trip out to Vegas for it. There must be something going on.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
He's going to meet the head of the FTC. You see?
Yeah. Lena Khan's going to drive down to Paradise, Las Vegas.
Yeah,
we're going to go gambling, get Caesars, and then we're going to make a deal.
Yeah,
just out of curiosity, Luke, are you watching any shows while you're in Vegas?
I am. Yeah, I'm going to. I've got tickets for Penn and Teller actually.
Oh, interesting.
But so maybe I'll take Lena.
I've seen a few there, and so yeah, it's always a great experience. But I'm sure when you're driving up and down well, for you, probably being chauffeured around, aren't you? While you're being chauffeured around and you've got your head sticking out the sunroof, you might see a few adverts for a couple of other shows you might want to take in.
Yeah, there's lots. Yeah, just the one at the minute, but we'll book others. We're also going to the Grand Canyon one of the days as well. So, but yeah, maybe Lena Khan could come down.
Well, the FTC's paying for it all, so it's all expensive.
Exactly, yeah. So
I'll tell you what, it is a good time to go, because I think if you'd left it any later, it gets very hot in Vegas.
Yeah, it's still very hot now.
That's just the girls.
And yeah, that's just the girls. But it's more manageable now than it would be in June or July, because I would just melt, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. But they've got a different. I've never been to America. Is their humidity better than ours? It's got to be better than ours, surely. Anything's better than British humidity, surely.
Well, I think the problem with British humidity is ours is generally quite high, as in there's lots of water saturation in the air. And some places in the US, I mean, particularly Nevada, the humidity is very low, which, if anything, makes the heat worse.
Oh.
Well, look, look, it's going to be fine. I'm staying in Caesar's Palace, so I won't see the outside.
You'll be nice
anyway,
and air conditioned,
I'll be air conditioned, getting drunk, a slot machine. So
I think the worst one I ever had was in Thailand, where the temperature was, you were sweating, absolutely sweating, but it was a monsoon outside. And that was the weirdest thing ever. It is literally a monsoon, and if you know Thailand, whenever rainy season, it can go up. You'll notice that in some areas. We went to Phuket. A lot of the restaurants, they're about 500 mil or half a meter raised off of the ground. You think, well, why is that? All of a sudden, you'll get a downfall, a little monsoon, and everything floods by about a meter. But it's even worse because you are sweating. You are literally, the humidity is a killer, but it's pouring down outside. You're like, this makes no sense. It just doesn't work. But that was probably the worst ones I've ever did. It's like, and I love Thailand. It's a great place, but when you're sweating your backside off in the rain, that's a bit weird.
Fair enough. So, Luke, it seems that the CMA have moved to block the ABK merger. Is this correct? Is that the right term?
Yeah, that's the right term. It can be whatever term you want. I mean, people have seen this now in terms of the decision, but yes, they have blocked it.
I think the question that's going to be asked is, and this is a thing that I think I've seen a lot of people make mistakes, is their reasoning sound in terms of blocking it?
Well, I don't like engaging with that question, and I don't like when people engage with that question either, because their reasoning is their reasoning.
Yep.
So it's irrelevant to it's completely irrelevant what me or you or anybody thinks about what their reasoning is. The fact is that they've put a 400+ page report about it, breaking down exactly how they arrived at the conclusions that they did, with tons of literally millions of documents and thousands of references in that report, including stuff that we'll never ever have access to. So I don't like. I think some people go, "Oh, well, yeah, that's that reasoning doesn't really work for me." And that's
again the reasoning I kind of put that statement, and I know it's a very difficult one for you to state, is that cherry picking statements from a 400-page report, which half of it you probably won't see, or half the evidence you won't see, could lead into. It can very easily lead into, well, that's an unreasonable statement. Because you're not seeing the full context. And the reason why I asked that question is to probably prompt, as I knew you would, was this fantastic answer, but also as it highlights is the report itself has elements that no one will ever see, or elements that you haven't read thoroughly through. And so what you gauge as unreasonable is because you are not fully versed, A, in the law, and also B, in the evidence and context that they are providing.
Yeah.
Do you know Twitter's full of lawyers? They're everywhere.
Well, it's now, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. This is the question I had for Luke when I came back, and I think the only question I had for Luke regarding the CMA was, Luke, based on whatever decision they make, do they carry the burden of proof, or do they carry any sort of burden going forward? And his answer, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, was, well, basically no. So, and that should have answered the question for everybody. But obviously not enough people tune into this channel.
A lot of people can't get past the fact that they see the idea is they see into a crystal ball, and that crystal ball
I was just about
happen.
I was just about to say, like, people can't. I don't understand why people can't comprehend this, because you see a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, you know, the CMA based their decision on a market that's just forming. How do they know what the market looks like?" The answer is they don't know what the market looks like in 5, 10, 15 years. They state that very clearly in the report. How are they supposed to know what the market looks like in 5, 10, 15 years? They can't. Nobody can.
Exactly.
And it's the case for any other. If they were investigating a merger in respect of a pharmaceutical product, they don't know what the market's going to look like for that particular product in 10, 15 years. This is the job of a competition regulator. They analyze on a best guess basis, a very informed crystal ball gazing from all the evidence they have about where they think it will go. And then they speculate, okay, what will happen if the merger happens, as opposed to the counterfactual, which is the current state of affairs. Where do we think it's going to go? If it goes in the direction where they think there's going to be, at least in the CMA's case, a substantial lessening of competition, then they have, the summary and the conclusion they arrive at is this is not good for consumers at the end of the day. Agree or disagree with that as much as you like. And then they make orders based on that. And it may be that they, in some cases, and they do, in some cases, they're happy with some behavioural remedy. In other cases, they want businesses to divest themselves of certain assets. And in other ones like this, they prohibit them entirely. So, I don't understand why people really struggle with that concept. Because if you struggle with that concept, then don't try and explain anything to do with a regulator or anything to do with any of this, because you fundamentally don't get the job that they have in front of them, and you're quite frankly too stupid to actually be able to do that. So,
I mean, games companies themselves have a problem figuring out what's going to happen in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So how do you expect a regulator to know? And the thing is that if you look at how many people are involved, how many consumers are actually involved, and how much these games companies themselves are whipping up, arguments and then counter arguments, right? And the CMA are in an impossible situation, really. They're damned if they do and they're damned if they don't. So they've got to take the best call based on the information that they've got in front of them. And if I'm looking at it, right, I mean, to me, Sony and Nintendo are always going to be the underdogs, just purely because of the size of Microsoft, and with the acquisitions Microsoft have made, they've pretty much got every base covered. They just have to produce and deliver, whatever the reasoning behind Activision is, and all this window dressing of 10-year deals, etc. I think you've got to look at it and say, okay, this has happened, and just move on from it. But at the end of the day, I think Microsoft are going to defend their position, good, bad, or ugly, and the CMA will defend themselves, and Sony are going to figure out, okay, well, can we get on with things now, or is there something else going to come up in the next 6 to 12 to 18, 24 months? And but I think their biggest problem is making sure that Spider-Man comes out and it's decent.
I think one of the things I saw with your engagement on Twitter was putting to bed a lot of, well, if they do this, then the deal can go through, kind of misinformation. And that was kind of intriguing. It's like, it was almost, well, if they completely cut out cloud gaming for the UK, then it'll work.
The problem is to listen to people like Michael Pachter who know nothing. That's the problem.
Is that the guy that said that gaming would be completely gone in 2030?
I don't know.
I think he made a statement saying along the lines that
He's
gaming.
made a lot
He
of
says a
ridiculous
lot.
statements, yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, look, it's
I'm sure he's
frustrating. No, go ahead, VJ.
I was going to say, I'm sure Michael Pratt is a lovely bloke, but I've seen him in the industry since like the 90s and everything, and he's never got anything really bang on. And he's just so, I don't know what the word is, surreptitious or whatever it is, but he's just, is it just okay for me to call him a knob, even though he's probably a lovely guy?
Yeah.
Do whatever you like. I'm not bothered.
No, it's not that. I don't want to insult the guy. It's just that he behaves like such a knob, and it's so matter of fact. And it's
Elitist.
Like, do you know how misinformed you really are? And you're doing the analysts already get well, they used to really get a bad name, right? They never
listening to him now.
They'd be sort of like if you had an analyst in your company, right? They'd be like all sitting in the basement, right, with no air conditioning, and blimey, the humidity can get a lot higher down there, I'll tell you. But it's like, and he's like the poster boy or the page 3 of analysts, and he just, I don't know if he just does it just to make a mockery of his own profession. I don't know. It's not wasted on me, but as soon as I saw his name pop up again, I thought, oh no, here we go. Someone who's really scraping the bottom of the barrel if they've rolled him out.
Yeah, they've had him on TV and all sorts recently. He keeps saying the CMA ain't a problem.
TV.
No, people bring up clips online, and he just saw CMA ain't nothing, things like that. They ain't a problem. I
mean, I think people just take it as a bit of medicine and say, well, this guy said something, so I feel a little bit better now. And I think, and everybody's living in hope, right? So, well, the people that do or don't want it to go through, it doesn't matter what side you're on, you're clutching at straws and you're living in hope, right? And that's the problem, right? You live in a lot of people look back at the past or live in the past, right? They suffer in the present, and they they look forward to the future, and nothing changes really.
Yeah.
I mean,
right. And it really should be. I'm sure this should be the other way around, right? Like, you're going to suffer in the future, come what may, right? And you should live in the present and look to the past, right, for some valuable lessons, right? That's the right way around. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I've had a beer.
Ooh.
You lucky sod.
Welcome, Jenna. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate it. I know you're on a bit of a podcasting break, etc., but I hope you're doing well. But yeah, it's there's been all sorts of interesting takes, Luke, recently, haven't you? You've been going on Twitter and basically trying to educate people.
Well, no, come on. I think Luke's tried to stay off Twitter as much as possible, and then just go on the odd occasion.
I wanted to just share something, because it's actually quite ironic. It's like Luke's coming to America. I don't know if it's his first time. I don't think it is his first time, but the first time I came to America, Luke, was in 1991, for a CES event. And I also, my first time I came to America, where did I go? Because the event was held in Vegas. I stayed in the Excalibur Hotel.
Nice.
For some reason, it was new at the time, right?
Yeah.
And all my meetings were at Caesar's Palace.
Nice.
And I'd never experienced anything like that in my life, right? The only other place I'd been prior to that was Hong Kong. During in 1990, but for about 6 weeks or so. But it was only one time I went to Hong Kong for 2 weeks. I ended up staying for 2.5 years, but that's a completely different, relevant story. But another part
Lost in Hong Kong, the VJ story.
I just want to know what airline he's taking. So because I went with Virgin Atlantic, and it was in its pomp at that time, right? Richard Branson was actually piloting each and every plane, every flight all over the world simultaneously. I don't know how he did that, but there you go.
It's pretty incredible. No, I'm going with British Airways.
British Airways, there you go.
Yeah, so
first class.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm surprised. I thought you'd have a private jet, since the FTC's flying you out there.
No, they wouldn't stretch to that. They said you could stay in Caesars for a week.
That's it.
Or you can fly on a private jet. So I went with the Caesars.
Well, it was either that, right, or head to Arcane and help them optimize Redfall. So, I mean, it's pretty difficult choice, if you ask me.
Yeah, it's quite a difficult one. But yeah.
Well, I suppose to try and bring a bit of light to the situation, because it can be a little bit boring. This talk of the actual of this deal going through. How about, Luke, you give us some of your favourite takes that came on.
Watch out, because they might clip this saying Luke Steele has said this.
I know.
Happening.
I don't know, man.
Well, apparently the king can override everything.
Oh,
that
was
a good one.
Chat the other night, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow. And Luke was like, "Yeah, I want to see this happen," and come out with his Xbox fanboy T-shirt on.
Come out. Charles comes out.
Charles come out as Xbox, Camilla as PlayStation. You know, let the infighting commence.
I think there's not too many that are absurd. I mean, they kind of are absurd and in their own way. I mean, that one was obviously particularly absurd. I think, ones where people are like, oh, well, Microsoft will just, they'll just pull out of the UK and stuff. They're just mind-numbingly stupid takes, like just kind of ones that I don't. They're almost impossible to engage in because they start from a premise that is so fundamentally fucking stupid.
It's cultural imperialism. It really is, and it's deep-seated, and it has been for decades and decades and decades. And you're seeing it now, right? It's entitlement, right? And I mean, they talk about England. I bet they couldn't be able to. Most of them couldn't point it out on a globe.
Tell you what, though, Luke, I've seen recently because a lot of them are bringing up the way the government could get involved, and it involves national security. So people are thinking, so because Microsoft pulls out, they do their cyber security, then they've got no cyber security. It would destabilize the country. And
do they really think that Microsoft is the only company that does cyber security?
Yeah, but the Microsoft do their security.
Yeah, but even, I mean, look, like
that would mean that Microsoft's invoked the cyber security issue, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, this is what I mean. Even if you just assumed, let's just assume that Microsoft did every bit of cybersecurity in the UK. What these people are actually proposing is effectively corporate espionage, corporate government sabotage, so that the government push through a merger that the company's involved in. I mean, like, it sounds like something from Die Hard or something like that. Like,
James Bond.
It's so ridiculous. It's like, I'll tell you what that is. It's like 24. The series, like, that's, I'm expecting Jack Bowers to come in any moment and like infiltrate the UK to try and make this out. Like, and the takes are just, I can't engage with that because, to be honest, it's just fucking beneath me to do so. Like, it's just impossible. It's impossible. You can't argue from that position because it's not even a bad faith position people are adopting because they don't realize that that's bad. Like, they don't think that that's bad faith. They think it's an actual, it's a potential thing that Microsoft could do. And they could do it if they want to, be fucking litigated for all eternity and effectively dissolved by a government. Yeah, they could do that. There was, what was the other one? There was a really good one. Where was it? I saw one it wasn't podcast. It was in Game On Daily, and they were discussing it. And this isn't from the podcast, by the way. This was in the chat, and I can't remember the person who was talking about. I won't name them anyway, even though they're a fucking idiot. But still, and they said something like, "Oh, I think Microsoft have like, they have, in terms of like hospital software, they have like some influence over that. They have some, it might be cybersecurity, some kind of pivot over those systems." And they said something like, Microsoft could just and this was like seriously said, they could like threaten to like pull like that kind of infrastructure.
Jesus Christ.
Hospitals kind of would shut down. And I remember, I'm sure Gaz from Game Daily was just absolutely laughing.
But the thing is, Luke, I think fundamentally, right, if you look at the state education in America and how it was founded and how it was structured, the diet that is fed to the. I mean, I've lived here long enough and I've seen enough, and it's only from a narrow-minded perspective, right? It's not, I don't know everything, right? I only know from what I've seen, right, and where I live, and so on and so forth. But the diet that people are fed here, it's shocking to me. It really is, and it isn't just like, you know, people that go to school or people that, you know, that have day jobs in, I don't know, in supermarkets and stuff. It's up and down, all the way up to corporate level. It's quite shocking. And the thing is that they actually believe, right, that, you know, America is great and it's the best place in the world to live in and all that sort of stuff. Well, why is it that a third of the country, you know, barely make a living wage, and 50% of them, you know, are poverty stricken, right? How can it be, right? And there's so many other things to it, but it's just that that people just don't think for themselves, and people and corporations, all consumers are consumerized and they're commercialized, right? Corporations create a product, they sell it to you or sell you an idea, or take Brexit, for example, how divided England was. And what it is that what they do, they stitch together all these values. Oh, we're going to do these 10-year deals. There's 150 million gamers out there that are suffering, and they provide you all the value reasoning behind getting behind them and their idea. And when it collapses, people are up in arms. For what possible reason other than the fact that you were manipulated in the first place to believe something which you were stupid enough to get behind? But this is not just in the games industry, it's in every day, every walk of life, up and down the scale. And you know, that's why I only come onto this podcast, because some of the stuff that's said on some of the others, it's like, I don't know how to respond other than the fact that you've been dropped on your head when you were born.
Just to your that comment regarding that they could turn off.
I can't believe that's bad.
Hang on.
Oh no, I believe you.
No, I just want to.
It does sound like a plotline.
I would just,
right?
as I was about to say, as just someone who has a nurse as a partner. Do you know what? This is how silly it is. I really wish all our systems were controlled by bloody Microsoft. Because our systems in the UK, and I know this for a fact, are so out of date and built on system after system after system after system that, trust me, there is going to come to a time when we will have to revert to modern day systems. We have got systems that still work with DOS in the healthcare system. That's how bad it is. Some of those systems haven't been touched for 20 odd years. They've just been added ons or added elements onto it. I've seen some of the systems that these healthcare professionals use, and I tell you what, your mobile phone has a better operating system than what they do. You know, that would be brilliant if our bloody healthcare had everything was all up to date. And we're going to have to do it at some point. I think, God forbid, for when they're going to have to do it, because I am seeing that we've still got physical records in a lot of cases. You know, our healthcare system, as great as it is in terms of actually providing a service, when it comes to computing, we are woefully behind, and it's probably a benefit in some cases, because we've just got so many different systems that are being clobbed together to make this thing work. I don't know how it's still punching through. I mean, I've seen some of the systems they operate on, and you're like, really? Windows 2007 could have done that better. I was just quite shocked in terms of some of the systems they use when I had to visit my partner one day, and I was just like, oh dear. So that's a joke in itself.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Was that actually you've just expressed an irony?
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Yeah, it's.
I'm actually thinking of donating my Xbox, right, so that your sister can run better.
Some of the systems I've seen them work with, I just put it this way: I've been around. I'm old enough to see the original DOS systems, and I'm just thinking. I remember playing around with this when I was at school, and yet this is still used to hold patients' information. And I'm like, It's like, dear God, and it's just because we haven't had a decent, serious funding. But I think the problem we've got, at least with the NHS, and this is not all sectors, but from one of the sectors that, at least from the sectors I've been seeing or been involved with, it's been what I would classify as we'll deal with it later attitude. So what they've done is like, oh, well, this looks like it needs update. We'll deal with it later. Then it's like 5 years down, like, well, it's really getting a problem now. We'll deal with it later. Add an update to it, or add another layer over the top of it that does what we want it to do, and we'll sort it out. And if that's been going on for 20 to 30 plus years, you can imagine how they're going to have to unpick all of that and transfer that to a brand new system, which we don't have the funds for at the moment. So at the moment, my gut feeling is they're probably just putting their heads in the sand and just keep plodding along, and hopefully it'll sort itself out.
Well, they do. It was like when Windows XP was coming to the end and it was life, and then there was this massive emergency because all the computers needed updating, and then they had to ask Microsoft to extend the period, so they'd pay them to keep extending it. In the end, with XP, I'm sure it was 2 to 4 years more than it was meant to be still active.
I continue now. There's some systems that are still using that.
Oh, for God! No, I can believe it.
I don't think there is. It's not as widespread, but there is systems out there. I can't fathom why they're using that system. It is so old. Why don't they? And I actually I can fathom it. It's because to upgrade it now, the task would be tremendous, and they've got themselves in a catch-22. Spend billions trying to update the service, or stick with what it is and hope it doesn't break. And my gut feeling is stick with what it is and doesn't break is what's been done for a large number of the years. I'd say 20 at least. What else are you going to do? You know?
Well, maybe Microsoft can offer to upgrade the critical infrastructure for free if the CMA put through the merger. So
you got a solution. This is
there you go. There you
go. You can just imagine it. Oh, chemo patient. Oh, sorry, the CMA hasn't gone through. No chemo for you.
That's it. Yeah, so that's probably the most ridiculous take.
You'd be surprised that, in some industries and in some situs and at some points in time, removable, that what you've just suggested there does occur more often than you'd like to believe.
I suspect it probably does.
In particular, but the circumstances do often present themselves. And,
yeah, I'm acutely aware of that. Does go on in the world. May not be in certain countries, but I am acutely aware it does. There is corruption at the highest level in other areas of the world. Yes. I have a Kenyan wife, and that's all I'm going to say.
So yeah, it's been a crazy week. There's been some crazy takes. There's been me saying crap on Twitter and then like talking about ABK on the podcast, but people know what I'm like. But yeah, it's been. I mean, in reality,
are we going to leave with something positive? That's what I would like to say.
Okay, then let's go for obviously this. I'm going to say something now. Obviously, I've been in many people's podcasts for a while saying I want the ABK to pass. I do. Just saying realistically, ABK would be blocked. I was told by many people, many podcasts, in many chats, I was completely wrong. The CMA can't stop anyone, Microsoft doing anything on all that. Well, been blocked. Let's see them get past the CMA now.
Is that removable? Does that count as saying it's positive?
No,
Not really. No.
Positive
Nice,
stuff.
cheerful, and
I'm
perhaps
just-
wish Luke a nice holiday, or
Yeah.
we're really looking forward to playing Dreadfall with you guys.
I'm just getting my bit in first, so I can say it on the air. That's all. So I want to see him get back to CMA now.
Oh, stop it.
Hard job.
I was going to say end it on Jedi Survivor, but then I don't know. I mean, I have lots of negative things to say about.
There's a lot of things that have come out of that now, hasn't it?
Yeah,
PC
so-
ports are not good. Actually, PC port and console ports are suffering. Am I correct?
Yeah, they're all.
It was
they're all
ACD
pretty.
that dropped that, and he said basically a lot of the reviewers ignoring the issues. You know.
Yeah, very strange. It's not.
What can we end it on?
I like that, Indy. I like that. Very nice chat. Yeah.
Yeah, chat positive. I had to get my bit in because for a long time I've had people in many chats telling me this and that and the other. They ain't going to stop us. Well, they have now. They put a massive roadblock in front of them.
Why do you care what other people
The
think?
thing is, you have to come to the point at some point, right? It doesn't matter how educated you are. Doesn't matter how crystal clear your ball is or your balls are. Well, I don't know about that, but no one can tell what the outcome will be, right? And it's like. I sometimes find it really difficult to ascertain why people debate and have an opinion when most of the time the majority of them are absolutely useless. It's like
none of it really matters in reality, does it?
No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. Because in 50 years we won't be here, and no one will care, and no one will remember us.
Hey, I'm going to try to beat that 50-year mark. All right.
Back from the dead. Welcome. Thanks for popping in.
I don't think I'm going to make it another 50 years.
What should we end it on then? Because obviously you just said Jedi Survivor, Luke, and you said, "Oh well, it's not that."
It's a good game. I can
Good
be
game.
positive about the game,
Yeah.
just not the performance.
Especially a guy who's got a 4090 beast rig.
Luke, I have a question for you regarding Jedi Survivor because it's been bothering me. So, like, when you obviously watch a trailer or a preview, etc., right?
Yeah.
You obviously see what's going on in the screen, and your eyes wander, and you look at textures, and you think this doesn't line up. The animations look funny. But can I just ask you, when you're in the experience, right? Does any of those sort of character designs or the animations of the main character, do they actually just disappear from view in your enjoyment of the game, or do you still notice them?
No, I think it's actually firstly, it's a really, really, really good looking game. I'll say that. At least it is on PC, obviously when you've maxed it out and stuff. But it's a very good looking game. It's very high quality. The animation stuff for the main character I thought would annoy me because obviously I saw some of the pre-release footage and just the way Cal Kestis moves sometimes, as you say, like it's a bit strange. It looks a bit strange, but to be honest, it's not something that I've noticed in gameplay. I think that's because does
it just dissolve away due to the experience and what's going on?
And I think that it's weird because the animation combat is so high quality. That's really super high quality, and obviously you're engaged in combat a lot of the time. And then the platforming animation is also very good quality. It's just specifically the running, but you're not running all the time. So I think that kind of melts away really in the experience. And at least in terms of every other element, I mean, performance aside, it's a really good game so far.
But better structured than the original. Does it improve upon the original, or is it more of the same?
I think it's more of the same, but it's just I don't know. I'm just gelling with it a lot more than I did I really like the original, but I think
but you're a big Star Wars fan as well, though,
yes,
right?
Yeah, for sure. So take that into consideration. But I think it's kind of it's a sequel, so it does the thing sequels should do. Bigger, better, kind of more mechanics, that kind of stuff, and. It feels a little bit tighter than the original did as well. A bit meatier.
You know what, Luke? Funny enough, you could be describing Tears of the Kingdom in a few weeks' time. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I could be describing like God of War Ragnarok as well. Like these kind of sequels that are released where you look at I don't get this criticism, but people are like, oh, it kind of looks like the first game, and it's like, well, yeah. because the first game was really good. So it's just a bigger, better version of it, right? I thought that was always the point of a sequel. Is it not? It's not to like reinvent, the Jedi games as like an RTS
COD would
now.
have you otherwise.
Yeah, well, sure, but like generally speaking, these games that's what they're about. So it's it's a really, I'm really enjoying it, even in spite. I can see why people reviewed it so well, because it is a really good game, and maybe I think for some people what they wanted to do was kind of give it the benefit of the doubt almost, and go, okay, well, the game experience is so good, I can put the performance issues to one side. But personally, like if someone said to me, and I've not finished, I'm nowhere near finishing it, but they were like, put a score on it, like I probably have to give it like, on PC, like a 4 or something,
Really?
because I'd be like, look, it's a great game, but the performance issues are so fundamental here that I don't think you should buy it.
But your Steam Deck reviewing yet?
See, I think Luke's hitting a point there, because the thing is, I think what he's saying, and I wish EA and other companies, I can understand why publishers have to release their games at a certain point in time, because competition is just going to get fierce, and you've got the summer stuff, and everyone's going to forget about the first half and look forward for the next 12 months, and so on and so forth. And what you've got is that a lot of gamers were looking, this doesn't work, well, I'm getting rid of it. But if EA would just come out and just say, look, we'll fix it, and perhaps that's what I'm just suggesting, I'm not saying this is what's happening, but telling, for example, if Removal was reviewing a game, saying, look, we know there's a performance issue, but factor that in, but not in the final review score, because these are issues we're going to fix. And as a reviewer, these guys have got enough experience to know, hey, look, there is an issue. The game is great, but these things are going to get fixed, because we've got not guaranteed, but we've been told. And also these performance issues are surmountable. They just need time in order to fix it. I know then you've got the whole debate, well, don't release a game until it's actually finished. Yeah. But I mean, you look at Jedi Survivor, if it launched in a month's time or 2 months' time or 3 months' time, you're up against a lot of competition. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I think those games would budgets would cannibalize. You've got Final Fantasy 16, Tears of the Kingdom, Diablo, and I mean, I'm only naming the AAA games here, and I'm probably going to get slaughtered by Indie for not mentioning Silksong, which is definitely going to hit in June. I guarantee it. And I'm just kidding. I had to.
2024 Silksong.
Yeah, I have to mention Silksong every single show. That's just
Indie Gamer actually thinks it's going to drop next year. Now he's giving up hope for this year.
Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what, your crystal ball is pretty good, Mr. Stubb. So I'm hoping that you're wrong.
I think we have gotten used to day one, first month patches, and so we have gotten to the point now where we allow ourselves leeway. We allow ourselves it'll be patched out. Okay, well, it'll be resolved in the first day's patch, or be resolved in the first month's patch. And I could probably do that with indie developers who have limited resources, limited budget, limited time scales. For those in the AAA market, they should be set to a higher standard. And in that regards, if you're reviewing it, you should take those budgetary requirements and standards into account. That's just my opinion.
It's difficult though, because I don't really, and I get what you're saying, but I don't even have too much sympathy for indie devs, or whether it's indie or AAA. And the reason is this, because at the end of the day, these are things we consume for money, and they need to be good products, irrespective of who's making them. Now, I get that indie devs in particular don't have the resource and the budget, so I do feel to some extent you should hold AAA developers to a higher standard. But it wouldn't matter if there were a kitchen of chefs or one chef making your meal. If it comes out cold, it's not acceptable, and you should send it back and you should complain. And the excuse can't be, well, oh yeah, but I'm on my own cooking here. It's like, yeah, but I've paid you to do it. I wanted a hot meal. It's worse.
Well, no, I would.
If there's a team of chefs behind it, right, and there's a whole kitchen, and it comes out cold because you don't expect that. But I think it's frustrating at the minute because I do agree that I think some people, like certainly not me, but others, we're kind of like been desensitized almost to it. Is in, it's like, well, okay, it's another game launching, with performance.
Yeah, it's like Blue Sky. It's the sun's coming up tomorrow. Yeah,
and that sort of stuff. And I think people need to be far more critical of this stuff when it hits. And you do get that on PC a lot, like through Steam reviews, etc. In fact, the area you don't get as much in, I think, is from console gamers. And I've seen a lot of people online going, oh yeah, I'm playing, Survivor. It's fine, and I don't really understand, like, either they're being completely disingenuous saying that, or the concept of fine to them means, well, yeah, it does drop frames now and then, and it stutters, and there's, this screen tearing and stuff, but actually it doesn't impact on my experience too much. So I mean, I don't know, but that's how it feels.
I think for me the chef analogy was a good analogy, but I'd probably tweak it as a cold meal of saying, okay, you're having a full English, you're missing a sausage, or you're missing your sausage and your bacon, and for a single chef who's got 500 people running through that door at a rate of knots, okay, you may have a bit of a leeway. For a triple Michelin star restaurant with 60, 80 people behind it, you wouldn't accept it. And that's how I kind of gauge it a little bit, because it's like you're paying top tier quality product, top tier quality money with vast resources behind it that should be pushing out, I'm not saying perfection, but we should be putting out a high tier standard. If you're going down for your average Joe's diner who's absolutely inundated and they miss a sausage, okay, can you get it to me? You've missed it, but can you get it to me? I think that's the slight difference in how I would probably the analogy use it.
Which is true, but the problem at the minute is and it does happen at indie level as well, but it's also happening at AAA level. It's not that we're getting breakfasts with missed sausages, it's that we're getting like breakfasts that have been completely burnt and tarnished, and like there's only a little kind of sliver of it that's edible. That's what we're getting in terms of
no, I think if in those instances, then you have to hold all developers to the fire. Yes, you can't just go, oh, excuse me, I've got a completely utterly burnt thing, what the hell's going on? No, I think you should do. I think but when it comes to I think when it comes to those AAA things, as Indy said, it's time after time and time after again. It seems to be on a regular pattern. And as I was saying, I think as we mentioned, let's face it, day one patches never used to be a thing. Used to be a thing.
I think it's this, right? If you're an indie dev, there is an issue with resources, right? And if you do just release a pixel on screen, you're just going to commit commercial suicide. I think the difference between AAA publishers and indie developers, smaller indie developers, I'm not talking about Team Cherry that have got millions in the bank or whatever, right? I'm talking about real indie developers that still have to pay their bills, that still have to put shopping and food on the table for their families, etc. Because indie gamers is now become a pigeonhole, but I think there's many tiers to indie gamers now, as far as I can see. And again, my viewpoint is very, very limited. I've worked with every single publisher that exists today, pretty much, and ones that have sort of fallen by the wayside, right? And the majority of the time, why games are released, even if they're not perfect or not great, is because they can't see a window further down the line where they'll just garner as much sales as are actually required for this quarter, because a lot of it is driven by revenue that has to be achieved in this quarter. Because it's fine, we're ordering digitally, but EA would have said, look, if we don't ship these 3.5 million physical copies out the door at $42 a unit, we're going to have a massive hole in our revenue, right? And our forecasts show that, fine, we may only sell 1 million here, but from now to the end of the year, especially when Q4 calendar Q4 is going to have a massive uplift on this title, blah blah blah, and we'll have these cross promotions with Star Wars stuff going on, so on and so forth. We'll make it up, and we'll remarket the game when we've improved all the performance levels and so on and so forth. And in indie developers, real indie developers, the kind of indie developers I think that Removable is referring to, if you look at his channel and the types of games that he reviews, the real hardcore indie games, I would say, in terms of how niche they are the ones that don't always have that those resources or time to ensure that their toast isn't burnt. I mean, I would say a miss from the reviews I've seen of yours, Removal. It pretty much is that I haven't got my ketchup or my HP sauce. Where's my cup of tea? And, I wanted bread on my butter, not jam, and so on and so forth. Right? I don't think I haven't seen a review that you've done and said this game just. I'm not going to bother reviewing it because it's absolutely useless. I have actually got one or two in there where it literally just looks like a cash grab. It is a cash grab. I've seen them before and I've called them out for it. It's literally, this is just a cash grab situation. But you're right. And also, indie games live and die almost a little bit on their last product. If it's got a bad rep, it can kill a studio in. That's it. It's gone. It's never going to come back. With the AAAs, they can probably get rid of or pass through about 2 or 3, 4, 5 really bad games, and yes, that hit, right. And forgive me, Luke, but Star Wars: The Jedi, the new one, was already delayed, right? Already been delayed by 4 or 5 months, right?
Yes, it was because it was meant to release at the in March.
Yeah, and the turnaround time, even I think me and you were having a chat, and I said, Luke, the turnaround time's been really quick on there, and now I've suddenly seen. EA and others coming out saying, oh, the turnaround times and developers, and companies trying to say, but the turnaround time's been really, really quick. And we discussed this about a month or 2 ago, right? And I said, Luke, to me, it just seems, I'm sure I said it to you last, I said, Luke, to me, the turnaround time just looks incredibly tight, how they're managing to do that, right? So that's why I asked you how much was the difference and so on and so forth. So your answer is in alignment with how long it's taken. But obviously, I think, again, we talked about it on this show or another show whereby, a year before a game comes out, you pretty much know if that game is going to hit because a lot of that time is spent in clearing up bugs, polishing, going through certification. Because even first-party games have to go through certification or are in a queue. There isn't. It's like the CMA almost, the certification division within Sony and Microsoft. It was as far as I'm concerned when I was there. I mean, Nintendo used to have. Because they used to do cartridges and the delivery time, and all the cartridges were manufactured in Japan and then delivered to publishers all over the world, right? The only way if you suddenly needed, I don't know, 50 or 100,000 cartridges delivered on DS or whatever, right? It was a 2-month, 3-month wait because you were held in the queue. And the only way to bypass that queue was to pay in advance, and you'd have to stock within 4 weeks. So, and that was the only way, paying cash up front to Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, was it that that you could jump the queue. Otherwise, first party, third party, second party, whatever party Luke's going to have in Vegas, it'd all be first come, first serve, pretty much. We've totally gone off the point, haven't we? It's my fault. I'm so sorry.
No, I think both me and Luke in general, I think we do come to a good, a very good agreement in terms of it's probably unacceptable from a AAA publisher. To be honest with you, at this stage, it's like, and I think that slightly, and it's probably a bad opinion. It's probably going to be like, hey, it's a little bit of fault of the consumer for allowing it to happen.
Luke, just been pointed out in the chat, Safu's put, what I don't get, they can talk about the quality of Survivor, the frame rate Redfall, one breath, and not mention The Last of Us on PC. I'm pretty sure you've mentioned how.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
I mean, that was a really poor port, and that was extensively covered in the same way that Survivor has, for example, by Digital Foundry, who just slated that port. It got horrible reviews on Steam, which sites picked up on as well. I think actually the only thing is that The Last of Us port on PC was almost better than Survivor, even though they're both dreadful. And the reason is because on The Last of Us port, you could brute force your way to really good performance, so you could get a very nice looking, very well performing game. On Survivor, you can't do that at the moment. So, people know my rig, but in the first level of that game, there's been times I've dropped to 20 FPS. Right, so
Jesus,
on your rig, that's unacceptable.
Look, I'm not a PC gamer, but I can understand a console gamer's perspective, right? But is there a measure of tolerance that has been built up over a period of years for PC gamers that, okay, we'll buy it by day one, it may or may not work, but it'll be patched and I'll be fine with it? Or is it still a case of, if it isn't working, we're going to get a refund? I mean, what's the tolerance level that you feel?
I think it's pretty low at the minute, tolerance, the tolerance level of stuff. You'll typically, if something launches in a bad state, there's been so many examples recently, but I'll give you a personal example, like the Callisto Protocol that released in December. That was another terrible port on PC. I refunded that.
Yeah, I heard that.
Lots of people refunded it. It got review bombed on Steam because the performance was so bad. So generally speaking, I think the thing is, because PC gamers are far more and let's be honest here, PC gamers are far more focused on performance, generally speaking, than console gamers are. Because on PC, you have to be focused on performance to get the absolute maximum you can out of your system comparative to the game. So PC gamers are really in tune with what is a good port, what is good performance, what is the game doing. So when something comes out like Callisto or The Last of Us or Survivor now that is just shit, it's just not a good port, people are very quick to flag that to other PC gamers, on Steam or on other methods and start refunding games.
So, I mean, look, I don't want to do console gamers a disservice, Luke, just staying on the subject, but I always felt that PC gamers, partly because they build their PCs, or they buy them looking for performance, they want to experience the pinnacle of gaming, but also to an extent where PC gamers are quite mature in their outlook in terms of, when they're buying a game and so on and so forth. So the Callisto Protocol, we had a lot of money invested into it, right? I think even the company that produced, I forget their name, forgive me, their share price took a hit and so on and so forth because of the commercial,
crafting.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I don't know if the Callisto Protocol, and that's probably a really good example, have the issues been fundamental? Has the fundamental issues been addressed? And if they've been addressed, have people still continued to buy it and then readdress their reviews, saying, "Hey, look, you know what? As a community, this game was bad when it came out. Now it's good. Maybe it isn't, but it is good." So, and then people will then go on and buy it, or is it that, look, there's so many games, you've had your games get their chance. If they miss their window and their opportunity to redeem themselves and get that success, and it's done, right? It's going to, next time anyone will pick it up, it'll be at $15 or $20 because the next big thing's out.
Yeah, I mean, taking Callisto as an example, when that launched, that in terms of the barometer reviews, that was classed as overwhelmingly negative on Steam. The way they aggregate the scores. Yeah. They did, in fairness, to striking distance, they did bring out a number of patches to get performance up. So as a result, I think the last time I looked at it, the review barometer had gone up to mixed.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. You're right.
Which is certainly better than where it was. And people do revisit it. I've done that myself on games before, revisit a score, if it's a performance-related score, and bring it up. But I think the problem is that sometimes it's too late. By the time you're then really reliant on getting your patch out quickly, and then hoping that when new players come to the game, the first day experience they get is much better than other people, so that obviously they can boost the score up through saying, "Oh yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's not bad." It just depends. But I think certainly the Steam review tool, and Indy said it in the chat, it's a really powerful tool, and it really does impact on game sales, because if your game is not good, people will be very vocal with that tool about it not being good. Not from obviously they'll say it's not good if it's not a good game, but particularly if it's bad performance, people are all over that really quickly. But Survivor is a terrible port. It's exceedingly bad, to use the words of Mr. Kipling. They need to improve that. They did release a patch today, in fact, for PC, but it did fuck all. So,
so Luke, basically, I'm sorry for asking these questions, but basically, because I asked those previous questions, this was just a bit of DLC so I could get a better picture of the whole situation. So basically what you're telling me is that, look, there is a lot of competition out there. Publishers do have to get their games out. Sometimes PC suffers, which speaks to obviously the fact that the majority of their sales is probably still on console. And then very few games like, what's that terrible game that's going to come out next year that's been delayed lots of times by Warner Brothers, the Injustice.
Suicide Squad.
Justice, yeah, which I don't know, definitely wasn't the developer's choice to make that game, that's for sure. And how many times has that been delayed, right? In order, and I don't know if it's obviously not performance related, but basically the game's soulless. But that's really unheard of, right? And very rare, right? In terms of publishers giving them that kind of support. And I guess, was it Striking Distance? Is it Crafton or something? I just saw up on Crafton, there. And I'm just wondering, Mr. Kipling. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I do miss a lot of stuff from the UK out here. Anyway, so I don't digress. So yeah, no, I've got a much better picture of the fact that gamers, their attitudes towards publishers and the games that they buy and how they spend their hard-earned money, and the fact that's on Steam, because my two nephews, they're on League of Legends and World of Warcraft constantly, and then all sorts of other weird indie games that I've never even heard of that I have to go to RemovableSanity to sort of shed some light on or shine some light on, or a spotlight to educate me.
Or indie.
Or indie, yeah, but indie's obviously always just talks about Silksong with me and asks if I've completed. I said I haven't even managed to complete it yet. He says, "Oh, sorry, I meant Hollow Knight. Have you completed it again?" And I said, "No, not yet." So yeah, I'm just scared. I'm actually buying Silksong because I'm actually frightened that indie will just come and hunt me down if I don't. And I got to complete it, and I have to complete it before him, though. That's for sure. But I know Luke's going to be hot on my tail because he's going to obviously be playing it in his sleep on his Steam Deck under his pillow and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, really looking forward to getting Stubs to download it and play it. I don't know. That's going to be tricky because he promised to play. What's his name with us? Redfall, and like 16, he's committed about 3 weeks ago, and about 12 hours out from it being launched, or 5 hours from being out from launch. Podcast. And it's like, come on, please. I'm sorry to go back to two hour ago comment, but
he knows the PC port's going to be shit. That's what it is. He knows a Redfall PC port's going to be worthless.
It's his crystal clarity. It's his crystal ball.
Now the truth is coming out.
Like the clues of what's to come. Right?
It is worked out that if he leaves it about a week or two, the PC port may go from shit to mixed.
Yeah. Won't be much better on console, mind. But there you go.
Suicide Squad getting another year. I mean, that studio, from what I know of, I mean, that burn rate there is... It's phenomenal, and you're looking at easily at $40-50 million. I mean, I don't know if the whole team is still going to be on it or partly being moved on. I know the two, is it Sefton Hill's leaving or left or whatever?
I think he's gone. Yeah, I think he's gone already.
It's but if that team size and if they're still all on that game, I don't know what the hell they're doing, because by the time that game comes out, I mean, can you imagine the number of reveals of other games, that are live service games, that are going to be announced? I just don't know what the hell's going to happen to that game. And
I think
for Harry Potter, right?
Well, let's be honest. There are games out there that have had multiple development teams that have come out polished. Dead Island 2 was one of the best optimized games of 2023.
So you're saying that?
I'm just saying.
Justice League should be handed over to that developer. That's what.
I'm just saying. I think miracles do happen.
Once in a lifetime, maybe, or maybe once in 25 years. Yeah?
I don't.
Tell that to the developer. What was it? To the developers of Rise of the Robots on the Mega Drive. Maybe Entertainment still being in business.
Yeah.
Was the Fishback Brothers? Yeah.
I liked Rise of the Robots on the Mega Drive. That brings back memories. I mean, really did.
One thing I'll have to say, one of the issues that Rocksteady will have is that, at least in terms of the PC, ignore the game, right? What kind of game it will be, whether it'll be a good game. They have no goodwill with PC gamers because of the way Arkham Knight launched on PC.
Oh God, yes,
and still is for the most part.
Broken, isn't it? Isn't it still?
Fundamentally, probably survivor levels of appallingness. So they really get the PC port in a good shape, because there will be absolutely no mercy from PC gamers if it's not given their last game. But I I would probably put fairly decent money on it not being a good launch in terms of performance on PC as well, because I mean they're struggling everywhere else, so I doubt their priority is getting a highly performant optimized PC game day one.
Luke, so when you do, I mean, you obviously have a schedule for games, right? Other, bar Switch, but when you've got a choice on, say, console or on PC, and it's coming on both, and are you sort of a little bit now reserved in terms of, okay, look, what do I do here? Because I'm concerned that this game on PC is not going to run great, but I really, really, really want to play it. Do you double dip, or do you choose sometimes, or do you think about choosing it on console, or do you skip it entirely and just wait till it's perhaps budget and you've got a little bit of downtime and purchase it so you play it in your Steam Deck in about 3 years' time?
I think most of the time I will buy it on PC because for most games, I know that I'll be able to brute force good performance out of it, right? So I've got a rig capable enough of actually, okay, maybe it's not that well optimized, but it doesn't matter because I can get it, above 60 FPS maxed out 4K, and that's the best experience. Survivor has not burnt me because I knew going in it wasn't going to be a great experience, but I didn't fully comprehend how bad an experience, at least in terms of performance, it would be. So I think going forward, I mean, the problem is that, and I don't mean this in a snobbish way, but it's a bit difficult to go.
You do. We know you're a snob.
But it's a bit difficult to go from the experience that I have on PC to certain console games. It depends on what it is. I'll give you a good example is something like Forza Horizon 5. That's a fantastic game on console, on Series X. It looks incredible. It's got a great performance mode. And yes, you can get it to look better on PC. And I I've played a lot of it on PC. But actually the improvement is not so significant that you couldn't gleefully go back and play it on console. And I do, when I was playing that a lot, I was flipping between the two. Right, just depend on where I wanted to be. That was a Game Pass game, so it's a bit different. But that's kind of where I'd be with it. But for anything else, for anything multi-platform, it's usually PC. I'll buy it. It's very rare that I'll buy it on console.
Where did you enjoy Elden Ring?
I enjoyed Elden Ring on PC.
I was about to say, Geely, isn't it? For also PC, you have community mods who can sometimes resolve the game quicker than the devs themselves.
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, Elden Ring's a good example of that because for Elden Ring, and again, this is just something inherent to From games. They tend to perform pretty well on PC, but the problem with From games on PC is that they just don't have some basic PC features sometimes. So, for example, there's a 60 FPS cap on Elden Ring, which is bizarre. Why does that exist? And it happens with all From games on PC, and in fact it's the modders who then go in and get you able to uncap it, so you can play at 120 FPS if you wanted to, for example, which is great. But it shouldn't take the modders to do that. And I guess with From games, they're kind of in a league of their own on PC because it's like everybody just accepts that From are gonna put out not a terribly performing PC game or anything like that, but just one that doesn't have the suite of features that you would expect.
Here's the standard. You're not getting past that standard. It's just the standard, regardless of that standard. It's a standard.
That's just what it is. And I guess in a way that's better than doing a Survivor where it does have ray tracing and FSR and all these other features, but it performs like shit. So that's where I enjoyed Elden Ring anyway. But again, I guess in the same way, From's games, you're not going into them really wanting to push visuals and performance. They kind of are what they are. Do you know what I mean? They're good looking games, but they get by more on their art direction than their technical prowess. So, and Misuko actually points out as well, PC ports in the menu are for super weird. The way you input on them on PC is very strange. In fact, Survivor does that strangely as well, where you just have I don't understand how the developers got into it and didn't think about how are people inputting into these games on PC. So for Survivor, for example, if you want to exit to desktop or just quit the game back to main menu, you can use the mouse cursor, obviously, as you'd expect, but you can't click on the button. You actually have to hold enter on the keyboard, and hold it because obviously they designed it completely with a controller in mind.
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. Yeah.
Removable. We did have a similar issue trying to figure out how to pause the game in console.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, From Software is unique, and as you rightly said, unique. Even on console, is that they do things their way, and I still haven't worked out the multiplayer reasoning at all. Getting multiplayer to work with From Software games just seems to be, right, we've got a multiplayer, but we're going to put so many steps in front of you to get that multiplayer to work that you're kind of wondering whether or not you want to do multiplayer.
Yeah.
When I was playing with VJ, it was like, gee, God, why can't we just have click, send invite, that's it, we're together? No, we had to go through password. It's like, Jesus Christ, and I can only imagine that's exactly the same as it is on PC as well.
It was like it was like Microsoft had implemented cybersecurity in the game.
It's a From, like, they have all these idiosyncrasies from about their games, like these things that are very unique to them, that they're almost kind of I don't like not loved or anything like that, but just people take them as given. Like it's just
that's it, isn't it? It's a From Software game. That's it. Yeah. So deal with it.
They'll do the same for Armored. Like when Armored Core releases, it will be the same sort of thing, right? So.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, a lot of these things are removed. Like they used to have these issues with 16-bit games and then some PSP games and stuff like that. It's like when they're in development mode, games being developed, like some of these functionalities, like user interface functionalities, aren't all there, and they've got all these weird button presses and configurations, right, to get to debug mode and all that. And they get so used to it, they just think it's the norm. And if you change it to anything that's remotely consumer friendly, it's like, no, this can't work. People won't understand it. But no, it's not.
Does feel like this was
brainwash yourself into believing that this is everybody will understand it, but they'll need an instruction manual.
That's exactly how I feel about From Software's multiplayer. It feels like it was a debug mode that just stuck with it from the very first inception. They're like, nah, we'll stick with it. It works. Why bother changing it?
Stubbs obviously knows all the performance issues with the Kama Sutra, but we won't go into that in this podcast. Probably a different podcast. But so some of those things used to get left in, right? But obviously, and common sense took hold, and simple button inputs for consumers that are not familiar were allowed to enjoy the game as well as the people that made them.
We all heard Stubbs.
What was that? You heard what?
I just want to.
Your twinkle, twinkle, little star sounds.
I don't know if anyone heard it, that was all.
We did.
Famous Kama Sutra. I'll tell you what, I'm sure there's a game or a game studio about to release something along those lines. That would be a good indie game.
There's been some great conversation about PC ports and all sorts tonight. It's been a good show. It has. I think I'm going to wrap it up there, I reckon. 2 hours.
I was about to say, that's normally the hint when Stubbs says, look, shut up. I need to go to bed. My beauty sleep is 12 hours. And I'm already on 11 now.
12 hours? Anyway, not with kids, 6 o'clock in the morning. No. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Luke. It's fun to have you back on. We did promise to get you back on if any big updates for ABK. We did.
We'll try not to do it again. We'll try and actually. We said that. Did we say that last time? We said that last time. We'll try not to bring you back. Something for the ABK.
Here we are.
To be
fair, though, we talked about. To be fair, we discussed. We spent more time on anything else but ABK.
Yeah, we did. We did. To be fair,
it wasn't very long.
Yeah,
it was still torture.
Still
for Luke.
Thanks for coming on, Luke. Do you want to tell people where they can find you? I've dropped some links. I think I've dropped Indie Gamers channels in the links as well. Tell people where you can find you.
Yeah, go to the link and subscribe to Indie Gamers channel because I'm there.
It is in there. I've just checked. Yeah.
And also on Twitter at LukeSteele90, and you can see me correcting people's legal knowledge. That's fun.
He does other thing on Twitter as well. You know, just let, if you're out there, he does do other things as well. It's not just legal knowledge.
It's pictures of his amazing PC with games looking amazing, or
usually coffee or statues.
I was about to say, Stubbs, do you not follow Luke?
I do. I do.
Jesus.
There may be a pretty cool statue picture tomorrow of a new one.
Did you get a collector's edition?
Oh no! I look. I'm gonna say this. This is gonna be really snobby, but collector's editions with statues are beneath my collecting habits now.
You're going top tier private collection.
A master race or whatever you call it.
Statue master race. I've got
statue master race.
I've got a.
Are you trying to compete with? Is it on the Iron Old podcast team? I'm trying to think.
King David. Yeah, I've had conversations with King David. Yes, he's the type of statues he collects are the same as the ones I do. Unfortunately, my camera's ran out. Otherwise, I would show some, but. I'll show you some. But tomorrow, if you're a fan of a certain cult classic from I think 1987, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger,
I know what it is.
Then you will be very excited for it, as I am. So,
sweet.
Looking forward to that, seeing that tomorrow. Right, and RemovableSanity, thanks for coming on.
Much appreciated for having me on. Obviously, it's brilliant to have Luke again. Good conversation. Hopefully it didn't bore anybody around the APK. We do like to go off on a bit of a tangent here, but of course, thank you to my co-hosts, and then obviously the guest Luke, and of course our famous VJ. He's gone quiet now.
My kids, sorry. No, I was just saying we didn't even get a chance to discuss Mech Warrior, so I'm really disappointed.
I would talk about it next time.
Just kidding. No, actually, thanks for putting me onto that game. I've been playing it non-stop for the last sort of 10 days, I think. But it's really fantastic. But thanks for coming on the show, Luke. And
my pleasure.
Please post some pictures of while you were at Eton. That'd be really great, so that everyone knows, that you were educated and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Besides your hot toys and your sideshow gimmicks, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And Stubbs, we're not letting you off the hook. You're going to have to play that dodgy game that's coming out today.
Dreadfall with us at least once.
I will play it once.
No. We know you'll play it, but you'll be playing it with us.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. The key thing is us, not I.
Actually, I have my headset on. I will. So I can never put on my headset.
No, you know what? We'll put it on at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and say, "Well, look, I was there, and then no one turned up."
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's what he'll do. Yeah. Or it'll be, sorry, I've got a twinge in my leg. I've got to go. But it's like, you've only been on 5 minutes. Sorry.
Well, depends what I play it on. The PC. On the PC, I'm sitting in the chair. In the bedroom, I'm on my bed. So it depends where I'm playing it.
Are you talking about your PC gaming or the Kama Sutra again?
No, I've got PC gaming. I'm on my chair in the bedroom. I've got no gaming chair up there. But no, yeah. Thanks for coming on, VJ Removal and Luke. It's been fun one this week. It has. And if you listen on Apple Podcasts, it seems to be the most popular platform for this podcast. Could you please leave a review? We've got one review on there from BMG, and we'd appreciate some more reviews because for some reason people on Apple Podcasts seem to be loving the show. So please leave some Apple Podcast reviews and Spotify, anywhere else you find this show, and on this YouTube channel. Press like and share. But thanks everyone. It's been a good podcast this week. And we'll see PC Master Race.
PC Stubbs Race.
PC Master Race. PC Stubbs. PC. Oh yes, Stubbs Master Race. Yep. Anyway, everyone, thanks for popping in and listening to the show. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. All right, thanks everyone.
Indeed.
See you all soon.
Have a good one.